How's everybody doing? Summer good? Summer good? School's about to start back. Let me hear it, parents. That's weak. Greenville? Greenville. Let me hear it. School's starting back. I like that. You hear that? So it's going to be, it's been a quick summer. It's been hot. It was wide open playing golf. I went out and played golf. It's the hottest day of the year, 104 heat index. There just wasn't enough water to go around. There just wasn't. It's too hot. But I'm glad you're here. Welcome, everybody. We've been doing something. We've been doing this, what Jesus didn't say. So I thought it was really cool to come up with this idea to go through what Jesus didn't say. And I think God helps those who help themselves. Y'all remember some of this? Well, that came out of a movie, by the way. But it sounds really spiritual. There's a whole lot of spiritual things that we say and we try to do that really didn't happen, and Jesus never said it. So we know that God helps more than those who help themselves, because we've seen that happen many times. And so we have to think about this, the stuff that Jesus never said. And one of the things we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about karma a little bit, and how this works and what we can do with it or what we shouldn't do with it. That's something we have to think about as we get into this. Everybody believes in karma, and karma is, bad people will be punished and good people will be rewarded. We pretty much believe that, and we think that. And is it a Bible truth? Not really, because I have seen, you've seen bad people get away with things, and you're hoping they'll run into a wall or something, and, just something that will happen bad to them. And then we have good people who never get rewarded. We see that. But there is a formula. There is something we have to deal with that we can make things happen and change our life. Now, imagine if you could live a life that you wanted to live. Imagine this. Imagine things could go the way you would like for them to go. Now, you live here, so it's not always going to be roses and sunshine and rainbows. We got that. But is there a way that we can make things happen and not live off karma and hope that if I do something good, maybe something good will happen? There is something in the Bible that says that can be you. That can happen as we get into this. You have to think like that. I don't know if you've ever wished karma on anybody. My wife and I were going to Daytona for a vacation. This happens a lot, but we'll just go ahead and pick this one. So we're going on vacation, and I don't know if this ever happened to you, and we're in the fast lane. Okay, we're in the fast lane, and we're moving pretty good. And then out of nowhere, this car comes flying up, right there, right on the bumper, horn, lights, on the bumper, and immediately I begin to pray. I love that y'all know that that's not right. That's not the way this works out. And then, my wife's over there reading the Bible and quoting scripture to them. I know sometimes y'all think pastors are not. No, you know what I wanted to happen. Now I had to think for a moment. I know what you're thinking. How many would just slow down? Are y'all still here? Okay. How many of you just get out of the way? Some of you don't know what's going on yet. It's okay. So we'll get there in a minute. So we'll have that happen. So I don't know if it makes you angry, but I was mad. I'm going on vacation, and you're trying to run over me? Now, I'm already, I only do the speed limit. What? So y'all did Greenville. You see what I'm saying? I'm not getting any respect over here. No, I try to keep up with everybody else. Is that what you do? Just try to keep up. Well, this guy wasn't going to keep up. He was going to run over me. I know eventually, that his front end disappears, and you can't see him. You got it. Something's about to happen. And then my wife says, just tap the brakes. It's love. Oh, I didn't throw that in there. Well, my wife usually will just slow down. So, just to make it worse. Now, I don't know what was going on with this guy. And so finally I decided just to get out of the way. Because then you have this thought, I'm on vacation, I don't want to get killed, that kind of thing. And I'm not wishing that he gets killed. Okay, let's don't go too far here with this karma. So you doing bad things, I want something bad to happen to you. Well, I do. That's just the way we are. And I'm trying to think, I'm a pastor, I'm supposed to be spiritual. And I said, God, is it just smack him a little bit. You know what I'm talking about? You're praying just a little bit. I don't want a whole lot. I don't want a wreck, and I don't want all that. Just a little bit. So he went around, and my wife and I, we forgot about it. But we did say this. We did say, I hope he gets pulled over. Is that good? Is that good enough for y'all? Is y'all good with that? Okay. All right. So I'll tell you the mercy side in a minute because we haven't got there. We're just going to live in karma right now. I want him to get what is due to him. So he gets pulled over. This was, he did. This was like miles down the road. And my wife said, there you go. He got it. And you know how good that made me feel? I'm like, this thing really works. You know, did I cause that? Did I say, God, get him? Did I pray that? Or God, get him pulled over? Or maybe I was praying, God, slow him down because I really didn't want him to hurt anybody. I wasn't praying that. I was mad. That's just what it is. Now, we didn't use any fingers or anything. It was mostly just a lot of prayer going on, but not good prayer. And God got him is what I would say. Or is it karma? You see what I'm saying? Is it karma? Now, there's a couple of things I don't know about. So let's look at karma just for a moment. So, and this came from like a Hindu Buddhist thought. I don't know if you know this, not from the Bible. So we know that if bad things happen, the saying is if bad things happen bad things happen or you do bad things, then you should be punished, not only in this life, but the next life. And if you do good things, then you should have good things happen to you, not only in this life, but the next life. And so that's kind of where I was thinking this guy for his safety and for the next life, he needs to be pulled over. You see how that works? And then there's this thought that me and Eva have to deal with. Then we have this mercy thought. Now, every now and then you have it, don't you? I don't know when you have mercy. Maybe it's when you're rested and things are going well for you in your life, and then somebody pulls up on you and does what that guy did to me, hitting the horn. You know, I do think I got the California hello from this guy. I think I did. And that even really wanted me to pray a little harder for him. So, but then there's this side that's not karma. Now, everything I'm telling you is what I'm putting out on this person. You see what I'm saying? I'm putting out karma on them, and now I have the opportunity to put out mercy if I want to. And then here it comes. Then you have to decide, does this guy deserve mercy to start with? Running up on me, doing that, blowing the horn, that kind of thing. Does he deserve mercy? Well, in my spiritual state, I got out of the way. Now, here's what, let's think for a minute. You don't know what's going on, do you? We don't know why this guy is the way he is or where he's in a hurry. Is he trying to get to the hospital? Is somebody in trouble? We don't know any of these things. So I could do one of two things. I can wish karma on him. Oh, he get pulled over, and he did. That felt so good. Or I could do the mercy thing and just say, now y'all will have it every now and then. He didn't deserve this. You know what I'm talking about? He didn't deserve mercy. He did not. But in my spiritual greatness, I decided to give it to him. And that's how we think. I'm not doing that, so I must be better, just a little bit. I wouldn't do that. I have done that. I was in a hurry. Mostly it's not hospital, it's mostly golf stuff. But I have done it. And every now and then somebody will show me mercy, and I'll get over and that kind of thing. But then we have, so I'm giving away mercy, and then we have this other thing that's really hard to deal with. It's called grace. And this is total forgiveness and giving away grace and giving mercy and kindness to somebody who does not deserve it at all. At all. And this is the hardest thing that you have to deal with because we're talking about you giving people grace. They have messed up. See, what happens when we get into this karma and grace and mercy is that we're kind of in the moment of maybe judging what other people are doing. Like, I'm not as bad as you This is what happens. But grace puts everybody on the same level. We've all messed up. And then we had this thing we call law that came out of the Old Testament. And of course, Jesus shows up with this thing and he's messing everybody up. And one of the reasons he messed everybody up, because they were used to rules. They were used to rules. And Jesus is coming in and is not hanging out with the rules keepers. He's hanging out with the rule breakers, which is a little strange. So who's a rule keeper? Raise your hand. Rule keeper? All right. Not that many? No, that's why you're here. How about rule breakers? Anybody Greenville? Okay. So he was hanging out with people. Now, what were the rules being broken? That's the key. What is this? So look at the verse, because here's what he's going to do in just a moment. For the law was given through Moses. Grace and truth came through Jesus Christ. So the law was given. Now, there were 10 of those. Now, what happened was this, is that since I can't keep the 10, let's make some more up. You like that? So we'll be the spiritual guide, and we'll be the spiritual influence, and we'll put laws onto the people that we keep, but they cannot. And then we'll judge them. And in judging them, this could be really bad. It could be jail, it could be death. This is the things that they were coming up with, past the 10 Commandments. So they had to create their own laws. So there's a story where Jesus flipped everything around from the rules keepers to the rules breakers, and he shows us what truth and what grace is. It's in John chapter 8. John chapter 8. So you have to pay really close attention. If you haven't ever heard this story, and this is new to you, just listen to what's going on and what is happening. So here it comes. Here's the story. Jesus returned to the Mount of Olives, but early the next morning he was back again at the temple. A crowd soon gathered, and he sat down and taught them. So he's sitting down, everybody's around. Now Jesus is already a superstar here. Okay, he's already the big deal, and everybody knows who he is. Now the problem again, that we're dealing with rule keepers and rule breakers. And this is a problem. And Jesus is causing the issue. So they're going to have a little conversation in just a moment, because it's going to be something that's going to change everything that happens with everybody around them. And so as he was speaking, watch this, the teachers of the religious law and the Pharisees brought a woman who had been caught in the act of adultery and put her in front of the crowd. Now here we go. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not lie, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not, thou shalt. There's 10 thou shalt nots. Pretty much, 10 of those. But what the religious crowd did, they said, listen, we can't keep the 10 Commandments. I'll tell you something about that in a minute. So they decided to make some other rules. So now they added a rule where if you commit adultery, then you have to be put to death. The problem with this story was they only got the woman. What happened to the man? In Deuteronomy, it says it's the man and the woman be put to death if they're caught in adultery. That's pretty strong, isn't it? Is that a little strong for you? Maybe? I don't know. So they asking him, this is a little bit of a trap coming up. So the teacher, they said to Jesus, this woman was caught in the act of adultery. The law of Moses says to stone her. Now that was added. God, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not lie, thou bear false witness against your neighbor, all these things. The law of Moses says to stone her. What do you say? Well, let's pause for a moment. So, what do you say we do? So here we are. Now, we're the judgers right now. We're the judgers. So if you haven't lied, you haven't stolen anything, you haven't bared false witness against your neighbor, you're doing better than most people, you haven't committed adultery, all these things. So now we're looking at something that Jesus is about to mess them up with. Is it karma? Bad people have bad things happen. Or is it grace? So you have to ask, what do you say about that? How do you want to do this would be the question. You're in the crowd. They had a crowd around there. This is that moment where we're really going to kill this girl. I mean, that's what the religious people were saying. We're just really going to do this. And you're in the crowd. What do you say? Isn't it amazing when it's on the other side? So do we give grace? Now we have two kinds of people who are fighting. We have the rule keepers on one side and the rule breakers on the other side. And then we have Jesus in the middle of this. Let's just do this. Let's make up some rules. Y'all want to make up some? Because this is how it goes. Because you have to understand that nobody can keep the Ten Commandments. Does everybody hear what I'm saying? Because at some point, this grace reached out to you because we can't keep the Ten Commandments. And I don't know if you know this, that we were not supposed to be able to keep the Ten Commandments. Did you know that? Because if we could do the rules, we wouldn't need Jesus. So the Ten Commandments are out there, and everybody in this room, everybody in Greenville, and everybody listening, you have broke the Ten Commandments. But here we are with this girl in just a moment, with this girl, and they're accusing her of adultery as if they have done nothing. So Jesus is going to call them out in just a moment. So let's do a rule. Watch this. Since none of us can keep the Ten Commandments, let's make one up. Let's do this. You cannot drink coffee and be a Christian. I just killed over half of y'all. Maybe more. All right, imagine this. Imagine we created a rule. I'm a priest, and that was a big deal, and we're going to create some rules, and we sit down in a room somewhere, and we come up with all these rules. The rules are going to benefit me, though, and not you. So you notice I didn't say nobody can eat chocolate. Do you notice I didn't say that? But I like coffee, too. So some of you are thinking, well, I don't drink coffee. I'm good. All right, you're going to heaven. You see how that works? But if I find out you're drinking coffee, that's 10 years in prison. And you would say to me, that's stupid. Well, yeah. It's the same way that was. This is what was happening in those days. They had created, you couldn't pick up sticks on Sunday. You couldn't pick up sticks. You can lose your hand. This is the stupidest stuff. You can't cook. There's a whole lot of customs that came out, a whole lot of rules that came out that had nothing to do with God. All man-made. Why was it man-made? Listen very carefully. Because we can't keep the Ten Commandments. The Ten Commandments point us to Jesus Christ. He said, I didn't come here to change the law. I came here to fulfill the law. What was that about? Well, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Rules will never get you there. And I don't care if you drink coffee or not. Without Jesus Christ, you're not going to get there. So the religious crowd is trying to keep the rules. And I'm trying to keep, what's this? I'm trying to keep the rules for you. Do you think the Pharisees were drinking coffee? Oh, yeah, they were. In their home, nobody knew, but they were drinking coffee. And this is exactly what happened. So I'm going to call you out for something that I'm doing, and this is the story that's happening. This is the story. It's happening right before us. We have to understand that they were the ones that were guilty too. Is there anybody that isn't guilty? Now, the thing is, we're talking about you giving mercy and grace to people. We're talking about you. I don't know where your mercy and grace, where's the ending of that? Where is it when you say, I'm not going to give it. I'm not going to forgive them. I'm not going to do it. Where you have to determine where that is. Where is that place for you? So, if we go by karma, every coffee drinker would get 10 years. Is that right? Or we could say, mercy, don't do it again. You like that? Because we're giving out the rules. Don't do it again. Or we could do grace. Well, the truth is everybody's doing it. And it's not going to matter anyway. You can't get to heaven by not drinking coffee to begin with. But this is what was happening, and Jesus was having to deal with it. So if we go by karma, this girl dies. If we go by grace, this girl lives. Because nobody can make it, nobody can do it on their own to begin with. So here's what they were doing. They were trying to trap him. Here's what the verse says. They were trying to trap him into saying something they could use against him. But I don't know if you really want to go toe-to-toe with the Son of God. This is not probably a good idea. And they found out this to be true. But he's messing up the rules. You know, like love those, pray for those who persecute you. He's messing up the rules. He's not saying go get the people who hurt you. He's not saying that. He's messing up the rules. So they try to trap him into saying something they could use against him. But Jesus stooped down and wrote in the dust with his finger. We don't know what that is. We don't know what he was writing in there. Was it Go Tigers or Go Carolina? I don't know what he was writing. But he was ignoring them. Because I guess he was thinking, this is really stupid. Because y'all created the rule. And now you want to put her to death. So he was a threat. So he's got to trap it. How are you going to get out of this? Then verse 7, they kept demanding an answer. He kept writing and saying, you ever done this for your kids? It's like, I don't hear you. I don't hear you. It's so stupid I can't even look up. He keeps writing. They kept demanding answers, so he stood up again. He stood up again and said, all right. But the one, watch this, but the one who has never sinned, throw the first stone. Hold on. That's not the way we want this to go. We want you to uphold the law of Moses. I am the law of Moses. I am that. And I'm giving you truth and grace. So he's doing this in this story. He's showing what grace and truth looks like. Then he stooped down again and wrote in the dust. So, is there anybody in here who hadn't sinned? That's just craziness. That's crazy. But let me ask you this. How do you do this when it comes to karma and grace? How do you do this? Is it possible you think maybe you're just a little bit better than somebody else? Is it possible? I mean, there's some things we don't do, right? You don't do some things. Maybe you don't drink coffee. I don't know. But we have to look at that. Maybe just a little bit better than you. This is what the rules were. This is why they put them in place. That's not what God did that for. God put them out there so you know you need me. But the Pharisees put them out there so I can judge you. And so I just don't know where we are when we think, are we a little bit better than somebody else? Are we a little bit better than the drug addict, Are we better than that? Or the guy or the girl in prison? Or are we better than something? But this is the way we feel. And the truth is we're all the same. All sinners. They were demanding an answer for him. And he said, if you're without sin, go ahead, start throwing. So no one in the crowd threw anything. Let me tell you why. Some people say Jesus was writing all the sins down of all the Pharisees because he knew them. The truth is, nobody could measure up. I don't care what they did or how they judged or what they said, nobody can measure up. And I have to think like this because when the guy runs over me, when I go to Daytona this year and somebody runs up on me, I'll have to think about this message, of course. I got to think a minute. Have I ever done anything like that? Well, sure I have. Have I ever said anything I shouldn't have said? Well, of course not. You ought to be up here and go, it's recorded, it's going across, it's everywhere. Hopefully I'll do this right, that kind of thing. So I'm saying we have this thought about grace when we give grace to other people. And we give grace when it's not deserved. Just like the guy trying to run over me. In verse 9, he says, where are their accusers? You heard this. They slipped away one by one, beginning with the old people like me. You know why the old people were slipping away? They had more sins than anybody because they lived the longest and they were slipping away. You're right. You're right. I don't want to admit it, but you're right. This girl doesn't deserve to die, but I don't want to talk about it, so I'm just going to walk away. Beginning with the oldest until only Jesus was left, this is cool, in the middle of the crowd with a woman. So the accused, the rule breakers in the middle, and the rule keepers are now left because none of them can throw a stone because they've all sinned. And so there he is. So now he's going to do something he said he'd come to do. I'm going to disperse to you grace and truth in this very story. So I don't know what you're thinking about. I don't know if you're focusing on, well, she committed adultery. Should she not pay for that somehow? Somehow. somehow. You see how we are? Like Jesus is going to let her get away with it. Oh, she's not going to get away with it. Those things sin you just don't get away with. It does do things to you and your life. But Jesus was coming in and going to give grace and truth, and he was going to give her another life that she never had before. So then the accusers, watch this, then Jesus stood up again and said to the woman, where are your accusers? Didn't even one of them condemn you? No, not one. They didn't do that. No, Lord, she said. No, Lord. And Jesus said, neither do I. He just gave her grace that you didn't deserve. Go and sin no more. What is he telling there? Because of grace, you can have a different life. Because of grace, you can do something new. You don't have to live the way you've been living. Here's what my problem is with all of us, that we have been given grace and we don't take advantage of it. The secret is this, what Jesus was trying to teach. Karma can teach a lesson, but only grace can change a heart. If you don't give grace, they can't be changed. It can't be changed. And my feeling is this. I think we're trying to give grace to people and trying to give mercy to people and try to love people and all those things, but I don't think we know what to do with it. Because every time I talk to somebody, this happened this week, about coming to church and knowing God, well, I've got a lot going on and I'm not a really good person. And I need to get that worked out before I come to God. No, you don't. That's what grace does. So look at this for me and you. Let's talk about, what do you say about you when it comes to karma or grace? What do you say about you? Can you give yourself a little grace? Because everybody's beating themselves up. God's mad at me. God's not mad. We tell our kids, if you don't behave, God's going to get you. Please don't do that. No, He's not going to get you. He wants you, but he's not going to get you. And so we have these conversations like this when it comes to grace, when it comes to the things that we should be giving, and we don't even give grace to ourselves. We find Jesus Christ, and yet we still live the way we were because we don't think we deserve to live any different. Don't deserve. I'm gonna move through real quick. You know, watch this. You and I now have the power to choose a different life because of grace. I don't really care. I don't really care about your past. I don't really care how many sins you committed. I don't care where you've come from. I know that when you have grace in your life and God gives it to you, your world will change. And you can pick a different route. And we have the power to do so because of grace. Without grace, we wouldn't have a chance to pick. So I'm gonna go through this. I want to show you something that will help you and get through this. Because I'm going to tell you, all of us are living this thing called an accidental life. We accidentally are living through it. I don't know. You think about this. How did you get where you are right now? Was it on purpose or just an accident? Things happen to be okay right now. As if you have no control over this. There's some things I can't control. A guy running up on me on my bumper, I got it. But there are things I can control. And the reason I say this because grace has been given. Then Jesus comes along and gives us a powerful verse that says this thing here is going to work. This is going to transform your life. Read the verse with me. Because we should not be living accidentally. There will be no longer, watch this, then we will no longer be immature like children. He said, once you have grace and once you figure that out, you need to stop living the way you were and realize that you can do anything with your life. We won't be tossed and blown by every wind of new teaching. We should not act immature at this point. We should be moving. We should say, okay, I have a chance to do something. Living a karma life is trying to sail a boat with no sails. It's like trying to sail a boat with no sails. Did you get to where you are on purpose? Or are you just kind of like, whatever will be, will be? That's not in there either, by the way. I think that's some song, isn't it? But it's amazing how we are. So God has a formula. It's a spiritual law that is put into place that you get to do, and I'm going to do it real quick. Here's what he says. Remember this, whoever sows sparingly will also reap sparingly, and whoever sows generously will also reap generously. Watch this. We're talking about you. You've been given grace. We're talking about your life. What do you want? This is this verse. What do you want? If you want love, then you give love. You give love. You got to be careful. You got to be careful that we call it deposits and withdrawals. You got to be careful. If you want something, then you give it away. If you want joy, give joy away. If you want love, give love away. If you want money, give money away. This is a law that works for you and works for me. Because we live under grace, these things are now available to us. Our life is different. Most people live life through withdrawal. What can I get out of this life? What can I get out of this? Some of you live in withdrawal in here. What can I get? Not what can I give? And how does that affect my life? I do little deposits. I don't do it all. I do it with people. What do I want to have happen? Do I want to have a good life? Then let's do some good stuff. Because it not only comes back like 1 or 2, it comes back 10. So if you want something to happen, you got to give it away. That's how it works. You got to remember this. The secret, what Jesus was teaching us, karma can't teach a lesson, but only grace can change a heart. It can only change. God is the one that makes things possible for us to do what we do. I get to choose what I want to do. I get to choose if I want peace in my life, I want love in my life. What do I want? What do I want to happen? I don't want an accidental life. I really don't. I hope you don't either. Y'all stand with me. Greenville, stand with me if you would. If you don't like where you are, choose where you're going a little different. Here we go. Father, thank you so much for today. Thank you, Father, for all the things you have given us. I pray we'll use grace, not only for us, for others, because you gave it to us. So, Father, we thank you for the directions that we can choose and the people we have in our life. We love you. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.